exercise of your own, where you will be able to write various events under various processes. I have started recording. Yes. So there are three different processes and there are different events. Now, according to the Lampert's clock, initially, whenever you are having an event at a particular process, that will be incremented by 1. So initially it is 0. So when this is the first event in P1, so this becomes 1. This is the second event, so it will be getting, this is a execution of next sequence event. So you will be having, it will be getting incremented by 1. So again, it is 2. This is a sending event. So when it has been received, you will have to check in the P2. Then third event in P1 is a simple next sequence event. So this becomes 3. So this is the ordering given by Lampert's logical clock conditions at P1. At P2, there is one initial event. So it will be initially the logical clock will be 0. So it will be getting incremented by 1. And there is a receiving event. Now here you have to check. Actually, if you take a sequence at P2, it should be E22 should be having the timestamp 2. But when you are checking it with respect to the timestamp of the sending event at P1, so here it is 2. So here it should be, this is maximum. So it should be incremented by 1. So sending event should be always having the value lesser than the receiving event. So this will be becoming equal to 3. Next, there is a sequence. So it is 4. So in P3, it is simple where you have 1, 2, and 3. Is it clear? This is a simple diagram where you don't have many sending and receiving events. So you will see some of the examples later. You will be able to actually work on the ordering and then see whether you will be able to do it or not. Okay. Yes, is it clear? One of you respond. Okay, I'll move on to the next where you will be having the limitations of Lampert clock. This I've already discussed. And later we went to the vector clock. So this vector clock, they overcome the shortcoming of Lampert's logical clock. So it is a time stamping mechanism that tracks causality among events produced by a distributed application. So basically, it goes with that happens before relation for all kind of events, which was not captured in the Lampert's clock. That is why it was giving partial ordering. Here, you will be able to get a total ordering with respect to the causal relationship. Okay. So they are applied in schemes for application of data that you will be able to see later. These are the conditions which we are going to use it for vector clock implementation. So initially, even here, the vector clocks on the different processes that will be equal to 0. So before actually PI stamps any event, so it will be incremented by 1. And then whenever it is sending and receiving, the value will be piggyback. And the next option which you are going to see over here is the maximum of the current clock of that particular receiving and the timestamp which is being sent from the sender. Whichever is maximum, you are using that and then you are incrementing it as earlier. So this is what is the conditions. Basically, the sending and receiving events have to be considered. That time, this condition has to be taken care. So these are different comparisons for different scenarios. So this is what I was discussing in the last class. So how we are going to give the timestamp in case of vector clock, and how we are going to find out whether they are actually capturing the causal relationship, and how are you going to identify them as parallel events or concurrent. So here this example I had given it to you for making it work and check whether you are able to get it or not. So here in this particular case, E11, E12, E13. So these are events in P1. Then E21, E22, E23, and E24, they are in P2, and E31 and E32, these two are in P3. So you have to use the vector clock conditions, implementing rules, and then you have to give the timestamp. So in E11, basically this is the first event, so that is why it is 100, because it belongs to P1, so its logical counter will be getting incremented by 1. In the second case, it is incremented. This is the second event, so 200. But for the third event, you will have to check what is the event timestamp which is being piggyback from E24, which is a sending event, to the P1, and based on that, you will have to give the timestamp for E13. So if you consider E21, this is the first event in P2. So the second counter which you are going to keep it for this P2 as a logical clock, so that has to be incremented by 1. Second process is the receiving second event is a receiving event in P2. So you will have to see what has been piggybacked. So 200 has been piggybacked. So now you have to check the first timestamp which is available here in the first event of P2, and which is being received from the sender. So whichever is maximum. So 0 and 2. So 2 is maximum. You have to take it that value. And then second value is the logical counter for the P2 process. So here in this particular case, this is the second event. So this will be getting incremented to 2. And the third value, it is 0 and 0. So it becomes 0. So this will be the value for the receiving event, which is happening in P2. So similarly, in P2, there is one more receiving event, that is E23. That is again based on, because the message has been sent from P3. So here, the first event, it goes with 001, because 0 is the counter for the first process, second process, and then this is the third process where it is been getting incremented to 1. So similarly over here, when you are going to compare what should be the timestamp of E23, so compare this 0 and 2. So whichever is maximum, because this will be piggybacked, 001 will be piggybacked here, and that will be checked, and then 2 is maximum, so 2 will be taken into consideration. 0 and 2, this is the local counter which is showing the value 2. So this is the third event, so that is why 2 plus 1, this becomes 3, and the last value, that is 1 0. So here it is being taken as 1 as maximum. So E23 will have the value 2 3 1. So in case of E24, basically the logical counter for the P2 process will be getting incremented. All other counters will remain the same, because this is in sequence. So when it is this message is received from P2 to, sorry, received by P1 from P2. So again, it will be checked over here, because it is received here as E13. So here 2 and this 2, again you have to check. So this is the third event, so this it becomes 3. And when you compare the timestamps for other two processes, P2 and P3, here it is 4 and here it is 1. So it becomes 3 4 1. This is how we are going to give the timestamp based on the conditions which are being given. So for P3, there is already we have considered E31. E32 is the next sequence event. So you will be having only the counter which is incremented by 2. Yeah. So now take this example and give the timestamps for the events which are happening in process ABC. So events you can name as E11, E12, E13 like that, or whichever the values which you that characters if you want to put, you can put it. But to have a general idea, you can have E11, E12, E13 like that. For process A, for process B, you can have E21, E22 like that. And for process C, you can have E31, E32 like that. You can put the event names if you require. Otherwise, at least you timestamp. Yeah, I'll give you 2 to 3 minutes. Finish that. Whoever finishes, you give me the answer. There are a few more examples. One more example is there. All of you should work on it so that you don't have any problem during your examinations and understanding of any concepts based on synchronization aspect. Yes, all of you are there. All of you should attempt. Once you complete that, then I'll move on to the next slide, the second example. So one of you respond. All of you are able to see the example which is being put up. Whoever have finished, you can raise your hand so that I'll be able to get to know how many of you are able to get the concept on Lampert's clock. One more example will be given to you. You will be able to work it upon, and then we can move on to the vector clock. I hope everyone is working on this. Yeah, anyone is ready with the answer? Either you can write it in the chat box or you can give me the answer. Keep your mic on and then give the answer. Yes. If no one is answering, I will think that you people know. So by default, I'll continue with the second example. If you are confident, all of you are confident that whatever the ordering which you are given, it is correct, then there is no problem. Yeah, anybody is ready with the answer? I'm not able to see any response. The chat box. You just type in the process A and the various events which you have taken. If you have taken it as E11, what is its timestamp? E12, what is its timestamp? Like that you can write and then send. Ranav Reddy, are you there? Hello. Ankit. You can write the answer in the chat box. If you are not going to tell me the answer or speak out, no problem, but you have to give me the answer. Divyam, Garima Singh, Yatin, you have given vector timestamp. I asked logical timestamp. That I gave you to work on logical. So first we will try with the logical, then you can go for vector. Yeah, this is a good attempt from Yatin. Yes, anybody else for logical clock? Okay, can you interact now? What will be the first event? What should be the clock timestamp for the first event? Yes, I will write the timestamp only here. What should be the first timestamp for the first event which is in A? One of you give me the answer according to the logical timestamp rules given by Lampert. So this will be one, right? Now second event is you will have to interact, otherwise I'll stop, because I will assume that you people know, and then I'll continue with the concepts which have to be given for today's class. Yeah, anyone is ready to give what should be the timestamp for the second event, which is a receiving event in A? It should be 2, or it should be 3, or it should be what? So it is a receiving event. You have to check it with the B process. So in the B process, this is the first event, which is a sending event. So the timestamp will be 1. So that is why the second event in A will be having timestamp 2. Okay. And next in A, this is the timestamp, because next is the execution, which is a sequence. Again, it is in the sending event. So you will have to consider the receiving event at C. Then remaining next 2 events are in sequence. So you can have 4. Next, this is 5. Okay. And then here there is a receiving event. So you will have to wait for to check what should be the timestamp here for the last event in A. Now consider the events in B. So first event is given a timestamp. Second is in sequence, so you can make it as 2. Third is again sequence, so you can make it as 3. Now fourth is receiving event. You have to see what should be the value here. So go to the C process. So the first event you will be able to give it as 1. Here for the second event, it is a receiving event. So actually it should be 2, because it should be a second event. But when it is being piggybacked from the event, which is sending event from A, so the value is 3. So then this should be whichever is maximum, that is 3 plus 1. So it becomes 4. And then there is a sending event, but it is in sequence. So this becomes equal to 5 in C. Now there is a receiving event at B. So here when you consider in sequence, actually it should have been 4, but the piggyback value is 5. So here in this particular case, sending is 5, so receiving it should be 1 more than that. So it becomes 6. Next event here in B is 7. And here for A, since it is a receiving event, so here when you see, actually in sequence it should have been 6, but when it is piggybacked it is 7, so maximum is 7, so it should be having the value 8. So this is the ordering for A. Now for B, only one sequence event is there, so you can have the value incremented by 1, that is 8. So for C, there is a sequence event. So directly you can increment by 1 and then make it as 6. So these are the timestamps which you should get for the example which is being given to you. Is it clear? Now at least you respond. You are able to see the values which are being written on the slide. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So is the ordering clear? How you have to give?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll move on to the next example. Yeah, this is the second example. You can just write down and then see the ordering which you can give. quickly write down and then try to give the timestamp ordering. For your quiz or maybe for your assignments or your coming examinations, you might get such kind of space-time diagram, and then you will have to timestamp according to either the logical Lampert's clock conditions or vector clock conditions. Just quickly do it now. One example I have shown. It won't take for logical clocks, it won't take that much of time. Maybe you are having some ambiguity in logical clock, that is vector clock. So that we have to sort it out. So the other two examples would be for vector clock. Quickly do it. Yes, if anyone has ordering, let me know. If you contribute, you are in the beneficial stage so that you will be able to clear your doubts. Anyone is done for second one? There's a little change from first to second. You have to write it down. Don't make it virtually, okay? If you make it virtually, it will go in there. It won't be staying. So it is better you write it down on your observation book and then work it upon. Yes, done? So for process A, what are the events and what are their timestamps? Yes, anyone? At least try to attempt so that you will be able to get the benefit. Okay, Athena has sent the image. What about others? Yes, others are able to do it or not? Yes, Yatin, the timestamps are correct only for the first process. After 5, you have given 6, and then the other last timestamp should be, because when it is been piggybacked, it becomes 6, 6 plus 1, 7 it is. That is the next event in the process A, right? You got it? Yes. Yatin? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, correct. So Venkata also has sent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, some people are at least interacting. That is good. Venkata, it is A 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. It should be. Nishan has sent correctly. See, Venkata, where you have gone wrong. Okay. So for the first one, it should be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. For the second one, that is B 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And for the third one, that is C 2, 3, 4, 5. So this should be the timestamp ordering. Correct. Good. People who are interacting, continue. Okay, in the same way. Now go for this example for vector clock. Vector clock conditions. Check the conditions and then give the vector clock timestamp. Write down the space-time diagram and then start working on it. Quickly do it. One more example is there. It will take some time, don't worry, but at least give a try so that you will be able to understand where you are going wrong. All of you have written down? So there is one more example. This I have to finish. Is anyone completed? If you have completed, you can take the second one also. First one, anyone has completed? Take the second example also. Write down the second example. So total class strength is 142 students, right? I could see only 135. The students who have not joined, they were aware of the quiz, right? Yes. Who is your seer? Section A, section B. Smriti, yeah. So the students are aware of quiz, right? Yeah, yeah. That is great. Yeah. Because I could see only 135 students who have joined the class. Other 7. Who is the CR for section B? Okay, okay, that is great. So if you have done your work, then it is up to them whether to join or not. So you have taken both the examples. So get the timestamp done. And if you have any doubts, you can clarify. Okay. So under this vector clock, we have to see how we are going ahead with the ordering of messages. Okay, if we have such kind of scenario, so how to ensure that causality relation is being achieved. So the basic two rules for delaying the message for processing. Vector clock must indicate that this is the next message from the source. And again, it must indicate that you have all other messages that cause this particular message. So with that, you are going ahead with the ordering of messages. So to ensure the delivery of any message, only if all the messages that are causally precede to it have also been received as well. So messages are multicast within a group of processes. If two messages are not in any way related, then order in which they have been delivered may have a different order in different locations. So this is what is being considered, and you are able to make the causal ordering of messages. Okay. So suppose this is the scenario where you have different messages which are sent from different processes to each other, but while receiving, how they have to be ordered. So for that, whether any messages have to be delayed or not, that has to be decided. So these are the basic concepts which we have to consider, and then you have to order it with these two conditions. To get the causal ordering of messages, the conditions that have to be met for the delayed delivery are these two. Okay, the first one states that M is the next message that PJ was expecting from PI. The second condition says that PJ has seen all the messages that have been seen by PI when it sent the message M. One scenario I'll show. I think by that time you'll be able to access the assignment. Then I'll stop. So this is the scenario. Why this delay for receiving this particular message has to be taken care, and why how it is been done. That is being dealt in vector clock, how it is used for message ordering. Okay, this is based on a particular algorithm, but in general, if you see the vector timestamp and when it is being broadcasted at P0, receivers will be P1 and P2. When it is broadcasted at P1, receivers will be P0 and P2. But while receiving at P2, this message which is being sent from P1, this has to be delayed because the message which is sent from P0 is earlier to this P2, sorry, P1. So that is why this will be delayed, and then it will be ordered accordingly. Yeah. If you people are able to get the quiz accessible, you can continue with the quiz. It will be under the assignment only. Just check, are you able to get? And then respond. Yes, if you are able to access the quiz, you can leave the meeting, no problem. But submit the answers in time, okay? I don't want to see any delay in submitting. Yes, am I clear?